Hey everyone, so today I'm going to show you my most arduous shiny hunt to date. If you watch me on Twitch, you may remember this hunt. It is my Larvesta SOS hunt in Ultramoon. So before I started this hunt, I did an Alolan Meowth SOS hunt, which only ended up taking 25 SOS encounters, so this made me keen to try another one. On a whim, I chose Larvesta, not realising how hard it would be. So the only place in Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon you can get a Larvesta is in the cave in Lush Jungle, where it's only a 1% encounter. This is the first hurdle we have to overcome. Someone in chat told me to get a Growlithe with Flash Fire, because that makes fire types appear more, but that only works in Sword and Shield, so that was a waste of time. After 50 minutes of searching, I eventually found my first Larvesta, which is when I realised that I wish I had done more research for this hunt. I started setting up the Harvest Leperberry method, where you bestow a Leperberry onto the opponent, and then you skill swap Harvest onto them so they never run out of PP. Unfortunately, I didn't realise that Larvesta had Takedown, so once I switched into my Breloom and used Full Swipe, it takedowned and killed itself. So I had to go find another one and get a better setup after that happened. Instead of using Breloom, I was going to use Decidueye, because that's a ghost type, so Takedown would affect it, and it also learns Full Swipe. I used some battle points to get some leftovers, and I also bought a bunch of rare candies with it, so that I could level up the Decidueye to do more damage to the Larvesta. And then I started hunting for the Larvesta again. 1 hour and 20 minutes later, I found this, the second Larvesta. The setup went well this time. I managed to skill swap Harvest onto it. I bestowed the Leperberry, then I switched into Decidueye and full swiped it till it had really low health. Annoyingly, Larvesta has Absorb, which means that it can gain health back, which means that every so often I need to full swipe again. The reason being, the lower the Pokemon's health, the more likely they are to call things in. So that makes Absorb kind of awkward for this hunt. Another thing that makes this awkward is the fact that I don't have an Intimidate or Pressure Mon out front at the moment. Those two abilities cause Pokemon to call things more often as well, so it's ideal to have one of those out front. The only Pokemon I have that's a Ghost type that I can do that with is Giratina, so at the end of the stream I decided to scrap this one and start again. So, I went on to my third search for Larvesta, which took about 25 minutes, so not bad. When we found it, I realised that I didn't actually keep my full swiping Decidueye, which meant that I had to take the risk and use Breloom. I put the Larvesta to sleep, so hopefully it wouldn't use Takedown, then switched into Breloom and full swiped. It actually woke up, but it used Absorb, so we were okay. Then I switched into Giratina and started with my new method. Everything went pretty well this time, until a lapse of concentration caused me to spam A and kill it with Earth Power. Not ideal. So I had to search for a fourth Larvesta. I didn't actually find any more Larvesta that stream, but that was only like 25 minutes. Luckily, around 5 minutes into the next stream, I managed to find another Larvesta. Unfortunately, I didn't put a Leperberry on my Exeggutor, so I wasn't able to bestow it onto it. So I kind of had to scrap this hunt as well. After an hour and a half of that stream and 15 minutes of the next stream, I found the next Larvesta. This one looked promising. I got to 10 encounters for this Larvesta. Now, if you remember, Giratina has Pressure, which doubles the amount of PP used per move, and Harvest sometimes doesn't work, so the Larvesta struggled itself to death. As you can see from my reaction, I was pretty shocked. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio for this anymore because I was playing music in the background, so it was taken away. But the problem is, Harvest only works 50% of the time, And with pressure increasing PP, there's less chance for Harvest to work. This was still really unlucky though. This is very unlikely for this to happen, but it's still possible, and it did. So I had to start looking for Larvesta again. Fortunately, it only took about 20 minutes to find this one. I decided to scrap Giratina for this run because the pressure caused the Larvesta to struggle itself to death. So we did the usual setup and I chucked out Decidui instead. Obviously this isn't the perfect setup, but I did manage to get pretty far in this run. After a few streams I got up to 420 encounters, but I'll show you what happened next. Alright, let's do those push-ups for Huibus. Also, wow. Oh, why? Why? Oh man, that sucks. Yeah. What did I do? I just knocked over my little setup and it just... I didn't even remove the game card, like... That's not Lester, dude. Wait, what? It broke at 420. I got all excited that it was at 420. You may not be surprised by this, but I didn't do any more Larvesta that day. I came back the next day with my final setup for this thing, and after half an hour of searching, I found another Larvesta. So you might say that my setup for this was a bit convoluted, but that's kind of why I liked it. What I wanted to do was get the Larvesta to call in another Larvesta before I bestowed a Leper Berry and used Skill Swap Harvest on it, because I wanted to get my Giraffa rig in and Skill Swap Sapsipper onto the second Larvesta, and then bring in my Exeggutor and Skill Swap Harvest onto the first Larvesta. That way I could bring in a Smeargle and Skill Swap the Sapsipper onto the Smeargle. This was so Absorb wouldn't affect the Smeargle, meaning the Larvesta wouldn't gain health back, meaning that we didn't have to false swipe to get it back to 1 HP so that it would call things more frequently. I'll explain in a bit more detail why I was using Smeargle later on. But now I get to another reason why the Larvesta is a really awkward hunt. It has Bug Bite, which means that it can eat the Leper Berry that my Exeggutor is holding, which means that I can't bestow it onto the Larvesta to get the harvest trick working. So, guess what? I had to scrap this one and start it again. 2 hours later, I find the next Larvesta. So the setup for this one goes pretty well at first. We get 2 Larvesta spawn in before even false swiping the first one, and I managed to skill swap Sapsipper onto the second Larvesta. Annoyingly, here I make a mistake. I send out Smeargle. I was supposed to send out Exeggutor and skill swap the Harvest and bestow the Leper Berry onto the first Larvesta. You can see me skill swap the Sapsipper onto the Smeargle though, which makes the Absorb not affect Smeargle, which is great. But without the Harvest, I need to skill swap Sapsipper back onto the second Larvesta, because swapping the Smeargle out would make it lose that ability. So I do that, and then we try to get the setup going again. I bring in the Decidui to full swipe these things, and then I keep swapping in and out of Exeggutor to try and put these things to sleep without them bug biting away Exeggutor's Leper Berry. It's a lot of faffing around, but eventually I do actually get the setup right. Well, almost right. So you can see that the Larvesta has just a bit more than 1 HP, which means that it's not calling things in as often as it possibly can. And because I'd spent so long doing this Larvesta hunt, and I got this crazy setup for it, I wanted it to be perfect. So I decided to scrap this one as well. You may have noticed that Smeargle had a dead move in Recycle. I had this because I thought, oh, I can just recycle Leper Berries when my Smeargle runs out of moves. But obviously I forgot that the Larvesta has Bug Bite, which gets rid of my leper berry. So I ended this one, I switched out Recycle for False Swipe, and I went for what I'd hoped would be my last attempt at this. Another half hour goes by, and another Larvesta appears. Could this be the last one? I did make a mistake though. I used the harvest trick with Executor before I got a second Larvesta to come out, which is annoying because Larvesta doesn't call things very often at full health, and to bring in the Girafarig against a low health Larvesta isn't great because it could take down itself to death. So after a bit of faffing around, because as you can see I was eating, and just before this happened I got raided, I tried to salvage this attempt. So what I did first was get the Larvesta down to really low health so that it had more chance of calling other things in. And then, when there was 2 Mons on the field, I was going to let the Larvesta with the leper berry absorb me a little bit, so it could gain some health back, so even one takedown wouldn't take itself out when it was fighting against my Girafarig. The reason I went with Decidui for this is because it's my strongest ghost type. So yeah, that actually worked. Girafarig comes in, I skill swap the Sapsipper onto the second Larvesta. The first one has the Harvest and the Leper Berry still, so that's perfect. And then I can switch into my Smeargle. Now, you may have been wondering, why are you using Smeargle in the first place? Don't you need a ghost type to not be affected by the takedown of Larvesta, so it doesn't kill itself? Well, my Smeargle can learn Conversion. What Conversion does is changes a Pokemon's type into the typing of the move that's in their top slot. The top move that I have is Shadow Ball. So Smeargle's moveset is Shadow Ball, Conversion, False Swipe, and Skill Swap. Shadow Ball will allow me to take out the second Larvestas, that is after a couple X special attack boosts. Conversion changes Smeargle into Ghost type so it's not affected by Larvesta's takedown. False Swipe will get the Larvesta on screen down to the lowest amount of health, and Skill Swap will let me have Sapsipper, so Absorb doesn't affect Smeargle, and Larvesta won't gain any health back. I also use a couple X Defends, so Smeargle doesn't get taken out by Larvesta's other moves. My only worry was PP. I did have like a whole ton of Leper Berries for Shadow Ball's PP. I think I would have like capped out at around 1,000 Larvestas if I got there, but hopefully I'd find it before that. This is the setup I've been going for, and this is the one I wanted to keep. So a few days later, the saga continues. I haven't mentioned this yet, but Larvesta has the slim chance to call in Volcarona as an ally. I've never had an issue with it, and it's never been that interesting, so I haven't bothered showing it so far. The only slight problem I've had is the fact that Volcarona doesn't die in one hit. So I'd usually go for a False Swipe and then kill it with a Shadow Ball to preserve Shadow Ball PP. But then it did this.
Whirlwind. No. No! I didn't know it had Whirlwind.
Yes, me, it had Whirlwind, which ruined my setup. What to do now? I figured I'd got to 218 Larvestas, I'd keep going with Decidui. But then I had another idea. Let the Larvestas gain enough health back again, and bring back the Girafarig to skill swap Sapsipper back onto it. Now granted, I didn't have as many X special attacks and X defense for the Smeargle anymore, but I had enough to get by. So this would do. Smeargle was back out on the field, and my setup lived to see another day, or at least to see another Volcarona. And that's exactly what happened.
You best streamer. Spicy stuff is great, but I don't think I've had the Bombay Bad Boy. Oh, Bombay Bad Boy is the Bombay Bad Boy. Yeah! Finally! Oh my god! It's over! Bombay Bad Boy brings in the shiny! Fucking yes! Oh my god! Yes! Oh, fish dogs. Everybody fish dog me up. Give me the fish dogs. Oh. Right, now we just have to catch it. Now we have to catch it.
Got ya. We did actually manage to find it. So all that was left now was just to catch it. I've got to say, after going so long with this hunt, I was kind of nervous to use full swipe on it. I did eventually do it, and then all I had to do now was just throw some balls at it and hope for the best. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, I intend to make some more like it, so maybe drop my channel a sub, maybe give this video a like, a comment. It would be really appreciated. I hate begging like this, but it's got to be done. It's YouTube. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.